Hey, Stellan cousins. You already know what time it is. Animated horror stories. Animated horror stories. Ding ding ding. Ding ding ding. Ding 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 ding. All right, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's go. What cousin's house we at? Mr. Creepy House. What are we watching over here? Babysitting gone wrong. What do you say? Kids are not as simple as you think, and they're not. Sometimes you gotta get down on their level and box their ass up because kids be bad. But hey, don't beat up nobody else's kids. Beat up your own kids. You know what I mean? Like, and don't just beat them up for no reason. Beat them up if they think they could beat you up. You know, like it's tit for tat. Kids be thinking that they tough, especially toddlers. They be snatching you up all different types of way. You gotta, no, nah, let me go. Cause toddlers be strong as hell, just like old people. Okay? I just be chatting. Go over there, please, and subscribe to Mr. Creepy. Enjoy their channel, and then come back. You should already be subscribed over here. So just do me a favor and like the video. Like this video and like any other video that you come across of mine that you ain't like already. Even if it's if it's a throwback, like, oh my god, oh shit, I forgot to like it. My bad, sis, and then just like it then. No, there's no harm, no foul. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm so giggly. I think because my husband's going home in like 20 minutes. But let's get up in here, please. Please go grab a blunt, grab a bottle of water, grab a bag of chips, and grab a blanket so you can be snug. I'm snug up in mine today. Why? Because it's a rainy day. I love a good rain day. That's probably why I'm so active and so giggly. A water sign, a rainy day, bitch. It's matching. What does he say every time? He says, these videos are loosely inspired on true events. No one was hurt in this video mentally nor physically. Everything up in here is fake. And then he says, if your ass ain't grown, that you could get up out of here and watch something else. He says that. What do I say? I say, yeah, if your ass ain't grown, don't be up in here. And any video that we come across that we've seen already will be getting skipped. Okay? Because ain't nobody got no time to be watching. What did I say last time that I was just gonna let it go? I was just let it go. Whatever.
It's been 10 years since that day. The day I babysat a neighbor's kid.
Okay, I was about to
Back
say.
then, I witnessed a horror story that haunts me until today.
What's happening?
10 years ago, when I was a 17-year-old girl, my mom asked me to babysit the neighbor's kid because they had to go to a party.
Okay.
Well, of course, I couldn't say no to her. However, the kid that I was supposed to babysit was 16 years old. His name was Tyler. He suffered from an intellectual disability, and people said that his mind was like a 5-year-old.
Hi.
I tried to be friendly, but Tyler gave me a really frightened glance. I mean, really frightened.
Goodbye and enjoy the party, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson.
I waved my hand as I closed the door. There were only me and Tyler in the house now.
So, I'm Tammy. Your name is Tyler, isn't it?
But Tyler didn't care at all. He only focused on finishing his painting stuff.
Tammy, could you please turn off the TV?
Okay. What are you painting?
I was curious. Tyler still didn't answer.
Can I join too?
Tyler nodded his head instead of saying a word. So we were both coloring and painting our own works of art.
Are you hungry?
I asked. Tyler nodded while painting attentively.
I'll make you something. What would you like to eat?
Up to you.
Tyler mumbled. So I went to the kitchen and prepared some sandwiches which were Tyler's favorite. When I came back, Tyler was no longer painting his picture. He was sitting there and mumbling.
Go out? I can't. Mommy won't let me.
What I
Can I?
say, y'all? You
Where
cannot
are
have no
you?
haunted ass kid.
Really? My babysitter?
Tyler?
I was a bit freaked out, though. After hearing my voice, he stopped mumbling.
Here, your sandwiches.
Tyler ran to the kitchen before touching the food. I guessed he was getting his favorite orange juice. At that moment, I had a closer look at the picture on the table. I guessed it was Tyler in the picture, but
twin?
there were two of them in the same clothes. One looked normal with a smile, and the other, gosh, he had two scary dark eye sockets that gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
I ran quickly to the kitchen. Tyler was standing still, and there was broken glass pieces on the floor.
Don't move, Tyler.
I rushed to clean the mess. Meanwhile, Tyler was still standing emotionlessly, like he was a mannequin.
Oh,
Tyler!
I shook his shoulders in panic.
Girl.
I didn't scold or blame Tyler for breaking
him
the
alone.
glass, as I thought it was a harmless mistake. However,
You gotta get him
Tyler
out of there.
seemed a little bit different, like he wasn't himself anymore.
Tammy, TV remote.
He suddenly turned to me. That was the first time he looked me straight in the eyes, and I could feel the cold shiver running down my spine.
Because that ain't Tyler.
Sure.
There was news about a serial murder on TV.
You think that? You over here and kiki-kiing?
It was Tyler who was giggling at the news.
Oh,
Tyler,
no.
you okay?
I was a bit freaked out now.
Not.
Yeah. Yeah.
He replied without even looking at me.
Should I change to a cartoon channel?
I reached out
Girl,
to
he's
get the
watching the
remote.
damn news.
He
Leave that
quickly
old ass
gripped my
demon
wrist.
alone.
If you touch it, I'ma kill you.
Fat ass. Ain't nobody got no time for that.
He said,
And in his face and say, Tyler, I'll
cold-blooded.
fuck
I
you
quickly
up.
pulled my hand
That's what you
back.
gotta do.
There was something strange and scary about him. Not only did he watch the murder news calm.
You gotta get in his face and say, I'm not your mama, boy. I'm your babysitter. I'll beat your ass and go home like ain't shit happened. Okay? Now you want some pizza or not?
But he also ate a lot of snacks, which I was told was what he hated the most.
Tell me, bring me
snack?
milk. Milk. Milk.
Okay.
I went to the kitchen to get the bottle of milk. While I was pouring the milk into the glass, something just popped up in my mind.
Tyler, you're lactose intolerant, aren't you?
My body was frozen when I saw Tyler standing in the middle of the room.
She knew.
What?
No, don't hurt her.
Shut up.
Get out! Hit me, girl!
Got to kill her.
Tyler!
Tyler turned around, staring at me with his
With a knife?
dark eye
Hit me,
sockets.
girl, right!
In his hand was a sharp knife.
Tyler, where did you get that?
I stepped back.
Y'all in the kitchen!
Tyler didn't hear my voice anymore.
Tyler, drop the knife down.
I tried to keep calm.
No. No. You have to die.
That voice
Oh, 'cause she
wasn't
asked your ass
Tyler's
if you were
anymore.
lactose intolerant?
And before he rushed over with the knife, I ran quickly outside and locked the door. I tried to call Mr. and Mrs. Wilson in a panic, realizing how frightened I was. They immediately left the party and called 911. When Tyler's
911 so
parents
they knew
came
they touched
home with the police,
Don't do that.
Tyler
Don't
was
have nobody
back
watch
to
your kids
normal.
if you know your kids.
No one believed me, no matter how many times I tried to explain.
Where the picture
Even
at?
though 10 years have passed now, I still couldn't forget what happened that day. The day Tyler, the neighbor kid that I babysat, was replaced by his evil and cruel personality.
He almost stopped you, bro. And that's what's really ain't nobody gonna believe you, but they gonna believe your ass when you die. And that ain't shit.
Calm down. What? Some people broke into our house. Okay, this shows all his money. Okay, Sam, my dad yelling downstairs. Okay, Sam, where are you?
This is a call from a girl reporting to 911 that someone broke into her house and threatened to kill her whole family. But the story behind it wasn't just that. This video was inspired by this brutal murder case. You said the killer tied you up? So how did you call 911?
I was scared.
In on it?
I managed to get to the
He
phone.
in on it, y'all?
Okay. Are you ready to tell the whole truth? Since my father brought that woman home, my life has been completely turned upside down. My mother passed away not long ago, and very soon after, my dad brought home a young girl only a few years older than me and forced me to call her Mom.
I don't like her. Never!
I yelled at them and ran back to my room. I missed my mom so bad, but they didn't. I knew they just wanted her to die so they could be together. Ever since he got that new mistress, my dad didn't care about me anymore. Since moving in, that woman had always been friendly to me, but there was no way I would accept someone like her.
You love my dad just for the money. I know it.
She always treated me well in front of my dad, but that fake attitude couldn't fool me. What's wrong with your hand? My dad asked me when he saw the bruises on my arm. I glanced at her.
Nothing.
I hinted that she caused the wounds, but my dad ignored it. He was blindsided by that devious woman. That night, I heard a knock on my door.
I just made hot cocoa for you, darling.
It was her again, and that really made me sick.
Stop it! Don't disturb me.
I was about to shut the door, but was stopped by her.
Can we talk?
We're trying to figure out what's happening here. Why is she such a little
I
bitch?
snatched the cup from her hand and threw it at her.
Ah!
She screamed loudly. Her face turned red with burn. My father quickly ran over.
Oh no!
What's wrong? What did you do?
I did nothing. She brings me trouble.
I got mad when my dad defended her. You crossed the line, Linda.
I knew you! You want Mom to die to bring her here!
As soon as I finished the sentence, my father stretched out his hand
the shit out
and
her,
slapped me
don't
in
talk
the
about
face.
his wife.
He looked
Girl, you don't know what
extremely
he went through
angry,
with his wife.
but I was
Now he over here with
indignant
his
too.
blonde bitch.
I have never
You
seen
don't know
him
his
so
feelings.
angry. I was so panicked that I slammed the door and sat down
Slap
crying in
the shit out
a
her.
corner.
She up in there
I
doing the
couldn't
most.
believe that he beat me
You can
because
send-
of that
you can send her
evil
to a
woman.
home.
At
Kids get
that
sent to
time,
homes all the
I
time
just
for
wished
acting.
my mother could come back. With no one left to trust, I wanted everything to feel the same as I did.
I wish she would die!
I suddenly blurted out a thought that made me feel a little bad. That night, I thought a lot.
Should the woman have her life spared?
In the end, I decided to do the craziest thing. That night, while sleeping, I was startled by a loud noise. Right
What'd you
after
do,
that,
girl?
I
What'd you
heard
do?
her crying.
Cause you already pissing
I'll
me
give
off.
you anything you want.
But just a few seconds later, her shrill scream rang out.
You done
Then
fucked
came
me,
my
bitch.
father's crying.
Lucy! Wake up! Lucy!
And then he screamed.
I will freaking kill you!
They started fighting, which made me so scared and worried for my dad. I rushed downstairs, but my dad saw me.
Linda, run! Don't come down here! Call 911!
The intruder turned to look at me. He was wearing a black hat that covered his head except for 2 eyes. He shot me a sharp look. My stepmother was lying face down on the floor.
911, bitch!
She was dead. I panicked and ran back to my room.
That's so crazy.
It was getting worse. My dad was fighting against the intruder, and the situation was extremely intense. I picked up the phone and dialed 911 in panic.
911, please come. Someone broke into my house, tried to kill my family.
I told them.
Okay, calm down. Tell us the address, and we'll be on our way.
I couldn't stay calm because of the noise downstairs. I was afraid he would kill my dad. Suddenly, he growled. "Ah!" Made my whole body go numb.
No, Daddy!
I dropped my phone on the ground and rushed downstairs. I was stunned when I saw my father lying on the ground. I ran over to him.
You put your address out there?
Please, Dad! Wake up, Dad!
But he didn't respond.
Your mom
I
and your
told
dad?
you to just kill her!
I angrily went over and grabbed his collar.
What did I
Which
say?
we did, but this guy chose his death.
He said.
I have to tie you up for the next move, right?
He coldly grabbed my hand and tied it tightly. At this point, I realized that I was wrong. I cried until my eyes blurred and I fainted.
Bitch, shut up. Making these damn sick.
When I woke up the next morning, I found myself in the hospital. The police took my testimony, but I hid the truth that I was the one who hired an assassin to kill my family. Okay, are you ready to tell the whole truth?
Nothing
He broke
but the
into
truth,
my house,
bitch.
but then he killed my parents. I wanted to help them, but I couldn't.
Linda, let me tell you the truth. The thief didn't take anything. He just took your parents' lives.
No way.
Linda, your father is still alive. He heard everything.
Oh, good shit! And that's the end? One thing about Mr. Creepy, he's
Question.
gonna leave us on a cliffhanger.
What would you do if your car was broken in the middle of the highway? Well, if you ever face that situation, all you need to do is stay still in the car and wait for the rescue team. Just never make a wrong choice like Emma and Mark. Never.
What did I do?
The story began when the couple was on their way to enjoy their honeymoon. Suddenly, their car had a problem. No way! Mark
what I said,
shouted.
We're gonna keep it, huh?
Gosh.
Alright, whatever.
Great. How about now?
Emma started to worry. Mark was about to call the rescue team, but
It ain't even about kids. If it was about kids,
It
would
happened in summer.
But it's not.
It happened in summer several years ago. That day, I discovered a painting titled Mrs. Nightfriend while cleaning Lily's room. It was about Lily and a woman with extremely scary bloodshot eyes looked, surrounded by red, orange, yellow spots that looked like fire. The problem was that I had never heard of any friends from her before. I asked Lily about her new friend right at dinner. Lily happily showed me the picture. I asked her name.
Mrs. Knight, look here.
She looked over and pointed to the name in the corner of the picture. I asked her about the red eyes.
Because they were burned, Mommy.
Lily said innocently as she finished her dinner.
Innocently?
The answer
That ain't
creeped me
innocent,
out,
that's scary as
but I
hell.
just simply thought that she had a good imagination.
So I can meet your friends?
I looked at her tenderly. She suddenly froze. Her face turned darkened. She stared at me with her big, beautiful eyes.
Do you really want to see her?
My heart suddenly pounded, and I nodded slightly.
Let me ask her first.
She finished her words and left the dining room. Since then, I felt the paranormal things happening in the house. For example, the sound of footsteps walking upstairs, or the crunching from the kitchen. But every time I went to check, I just found nothing. I thought it was some strange animal entering, because there were actually many trees and bushes out surrounding our house. That night, I brought some fruit to Lily's room. Then I heard her whispering to someone.
No!
There was a loud bang when I was about to knock on the door. I panicked and quickly turned the doorknob, but it was locked from the inside. I banged on the door, panicking, calling out,
Lily, what's happening? Open the door!
Kick the damn door open, girl!
After a while, Lily opened the door. I looked inside, but didn't find anything suspicious. Lily just stood there, bewildered, and looked at me.
Don't be sleeping with this bitch.
I asked her what happened. She said with a frown,
Mrs. Knight, she doesn't want to see you, Mom.
Then her gaze gradually shifted in another direction. Looking at her dirty hands, I guessed that she was just trying to distract me from punishing her. I sighed, took her to the bathroom to wash her hand and face, while warning her from playing with dirt before going to bed ever again.
No.
I finished taking out the trash, then came inside. That was when I saw Lily standing on the edge of the stairs. What was weird was that Lily was blindfolded, and she looked like she was going to fall. I worriedly yelled, which startled her. She took off her blindfold and smiled at me. She told me that she was playing hide and seek with Mrs. Knight, and asked me to join her, and promised to let me meet her mysterious friend.
No, you said that bitch didn't
now
want to meet
we
me.
hide and you seek, okay?
She said, handing me the blindfold. I put it on, then counted from 1 to 10.
Why would you put it on? You just see that baby almost fall down the
faded
stairs.
Away. After that, I left my spot, starting to find her. I guessed that she was hiding in the closet, so I went there to find her. I called her name, then I heard applause from her bedroom as a response. I followed the wall, opened the door, and walked in.
Boo!
I opened the closet, but it was completely silent inside.
Girl,
the sound of clapping by my ears made me jump. My heart suddenly beat so fast.
Mommy?
Lily called me. I quickly took off my blindfold and ran towards her.
Why don't you go find me?
She looked at me reproachfully.
I thought you were hiding in the closet.
I explained.
So you found Mrs. Knight?
She seemed surprised. I was a little startled, but before I could react, she pulled me and said,
This time, Mrs. Knight will find. We must hide carefully.
After she finished talking, she giggled, and while counting, she pulled me out of the room. I hid in the kitchen and waited anxiously, but still no one came looking for me, only the sound of footsteps outside the living room. It was Lily's voiceless scream. I quickly jumped out. The scene in front of my eyes terrified me. A tall person was carrying Lily on her shoulder. I realized it was Mrs. Knight in Lily's picture. My daughter screamed and struggled. I hid in the kitchen. Could react.
The closet.
I explained.
So you found Mrs. Knight?
She seemed surprised.
Oh no!
I was a little startled, but before I could react, she pulled me and said,
This time, Mrs. Knight will find. We must hide carefully.
After she finished talking, she giggled, and while counting, she pulled me out of the room. I hid in the kitchen and waited anxiously, but still no one came looking for me, only the sound of footsteps outside the living room. It was Lily's voiceless scream. I quickly jumped out. The scene in front of my eyes terrified me. A tall person was carrying Lily on her shoulder. I realized it was Mrs. Knight in Lily's picture. My daughter screamed and struggled. I panicked. Without thinking much, I pushed the woman down. Only then did I see her face. I was terrified. Her face was full of crimson scars that huddled together. Especially her eyes were red, and her lips were mixed with the scars, revealing only a wheezing hole. She went crazy, pushed me down to the floor, and rushed to strangle me. Lily stood beside her, begging, but she squeezed even tighter. I struggled and grabbed a hard object on the floor, quickly hitting the woman on her head. When she stepped back, I hugged Lily and ran into the small storage room, locking the door. The woman screamed and banged on the door repeatedly. I was afraid to hug Lily in my arms, trembling to dial 911. The woman couldn't open the door, so she left. Before I could breathe in relief, I smelled gasoline, then burning. Smoke began to pour in from the outside. Soon the room was filled with smoke. I tried to hug Lily tightly, hoping she wouldn't breathe in the smoke. I could feel myself fading away. At the same time, I heard police sirens outside.
Good shit. They made it in time?
Mrs. Knight was arrested while holding a gas can. Turns out it was a man with a mental illness.
Oh, wow.
He used to be the owner of the house. Mrs. Knight had a 5-year-old child and loved her very much. But after discovering that she wasn't his, but his wife and her lover, he went mad and set the house on fire. The fire killed his wife and daughter and burned his entire face. According to the police, he had been living in our house for a month. I shuddered to discover that it was around the time when we moved in. Then I recalled the memory of the woman, the sparks of fire in Lily's painting, and the name Mrs. Nightfriend. And I suddenly realized that day was the same day when he set the fire a few years ago.
So last night was Halloween, and also my looting festival, since I got a lot of candy from my younger brother. But what came after the sweet dinner was the most horrible experience with the dentist in my life. I had a sweet tooth that would always be ready for candy. As soon as my brother came back from his trick-or-treat outing, I immediately patted him down for candy.
You kids shouldn't have too many sweets.
I snatched his pumpkin candy basket and gave him back a lollipop. Then, sitting on the sofa,
wow, there's also M&Ms.
I enjoyed the candy while watching TV. This year, my brother got more candy than usual, and as I binge ate it, my tongue started to feel sore.
Hey, aren't you afraid of tooth decay? The dentist will come knocking on your room's door,
my brother said.
I'm an adult, not like you. Damn, out of candy? That's all you got?
I saw the empty candy basket. On the ground were a lot of candy wrappers piled up.
Yikes!
No more candy. I needed to take a quick nap. So I took the last candy and lay down on the sofa. But I had just stuffed my face with a ton of sugar before, plus my tongue ached so bad, and there was something lumpy and unpleasant wiggling in my mouth. Whatever that was, I jumped up trying to spit it out.
Oh my God!
My heart beat faster when I realized it was a half-swollen candy and a squirming maggot as a bonus offer. I ran to the bathroom and rushed to the mirror.
Nasty. I hate maggots.
My God!
I was panic-stricken to see my gums covered in blood. Fortunately, there were no other maggots. I hurriedly tried to blot my gums with paper to stop the bleeding. That would make it better, I thought, and got back to my room. My swollen tongue and the excess of sugar in my stomach kept me awake most of the night, though I did fall asleep at some point. The next morning, I was awakened by a strange feeling. There was something hard in my mouth. I put my hand in to pick around and saw something so terrible. It was a decayed tooth. It looked so hideous, black and almost crumbling. I smelled it. Oh my, it smelled so bad, like rotten eggs. Now, I think it's time to be clear. If candy were my passion, the toothbrush would be the enemy. I would barely brush my teeth if my mom and dad didn't tell me to. But when I saw this tooth fall out, I thought there came something even more terrifying. The dentist, Dr. Creepy.
You don't even brush your damn gums?
Couldn't let my parents find out about this. That would only make things worse. So I decided to see Dr. Creepy alone. While in the waiting line, I was restless. The noise coming from the clinic room and the medical smells made my head feel dizzy, and I was scared. Then they called my name. I was startled and hesitated for a moment. But then a nurse came up to me and said,
It's your turn.
Then she dragged me into the clinic room. In the room, I saw Dr. Creepy waiting for me. He looked terrified, his eyes bloodshot, his mouth grinning with strangely white teeth. He also held a drill in his hand and kept pressing it. Lie down, he said in a serious tone. I obeyed him and reluctantly lay down on the chair. He shoved a mouth spreader into my mouth. Well, let's see what we have here. Dr. Creepy adjusted the lamp. Looks like we have a tipsy-bitsy mouth needing to be fixed here.
That's really getting me.
He said, like some terrifying amusement clowns in a movie. He held up the needle and said, Anesthesia! I closed my eyes in panic when I saw that sharp pixie needle. My body was shaking, but I couldn't do anything. I felt so helpless. Then he used a pair of tweezers, put them into my mouth, and pulled out a fat white maggot. It wiggled non-stop. Then, without hesitation, he put the maggot right into his mouth and chewed on the tip. That made me almost vomit. I tried to get up and run away, but I couldn't. My hands were tied to the chair. I lay there helplessly and let Dr. Creepy pick out all the maggots from my mouth.
Lie still. We're at an important step.
Dr. Creepy said and raised a drill whose sound made me feel so unsettled. My heart beat faster and my tears started to flow. I wanted to close my mouth, but that device wouldn't allow me. I just kept struggling on the chair for so long before losing consciousness. I was woken up by the dentist.
Hey, wake up. It's all done.
I sat up and realized it was just a dream. Dr. Creepy said that some of my teeth were decayed and had to be extracted and replaced with a few dentures. I thanked him and quickly exited the room. It was just a dream. Yeah, a very realistic dream that I would never ever get out of my mind.
Anxiety going off, thinking he's a nasty bastard eating people maggots out their mouth. In my mouth? No. I really couldn't. I really couldn't imagine it. Like maggots. I would honestly die. I would just die. If I opened my mouth and it was stank and then a maggot came out and it was bleeding, just take the whole mouth. Girl, you don't need no mouth. You don't know how to treat one. Okay. Let me know which one was your favorite. I say we only had that first one was the only one that was the babysitting one, and then everything else was like children related. So it's not really babysitting gone wrong, just scary ass, spooky ass kids. Okay? Let me know which one was your favorite, and until next time, you guys, please remember to like the video, and I love you. Bye.